A historic winter storm is taking shape this weekend across the Great Lakes from Saturday night all the way into Monday early morning, folks. We're looking at multiple feet of snowfall. We're looking at a crippling ice storm for many locations across Michigan and parts of Wisconsin. And we're looking at significant severe weather across the Midwest and the upper Midwest, including for the eastern seaboard into the early part of next week with strong tornadoes, large hail, and damaging winds. So in this video, we'll be breaking down all the details that you need to know about this very dangerous historic winter storm. Welcome back, everyone. It is David Schlotthauer here on Saturday, the 14th day of March 2026, and I hope you all are having a great day. Now, if you haven't been here before and you do like these videos that I do provide on a everyday basis, especially on this historic dangerous winter storm that's going to be developing rapidly tonight into the northern plains and the Great Lakes for tomorrow, please don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel, folks. If you haven't already, hit the bell notification icon to receive every update here on the YouTube channel. Hit that like button, and also please share this with your family and friends on social media. With that being said, let's get started and talk about this very significant, dangerous, historic winter storm that is going to be rapidly developing overnight tonight into the day tomorrow and into Monday, because this winter storm is going to be very dangerous. So here's a look at the HRRR model for 2 p.m. Central Daylight Time this afternoon, and we can see a little bit of snowfall really developing over the Dakotas here. Strong winds are going to be picking up as this surface low rapidly develops here. We're going to be looking at the upper level dynamics. We're going to be looking at your wind gust forecast as well. Snowfall totals. We're going to be looking at severe weather on the severe weather side of this, because boy, oh boy, this is going to be a multifaceted system that is going to lead to a lot of impact across the country. This is going to be the most impactful winter storm possibly in a couple of years. All right, so let's move this forward here as we go into, say, about 5 p.m. this afternoon, Central Daylight Time, and we have light to moderate snowfall over the Dakotas, over Minnesota, some over Montana, but this is going to get a lot worse as we go into tonight. Look at how this develops in a hurry here. By about 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock Central Daylight Time, we're looking at moderate to heavy snowfall, and then this continues to gallop its way across Minnesota. And boy, oh boy, the snow is going to really be intensifying over Minneapolis. I hope I said it right. I know people pronounce it differently on this channel. I pronounce it differently, so I'm sorry if I didn't get it right there, but I did my best. Eau Claire, Wisconsin, getting some decent snowfall out of this winter storm. Very tight pressure gradient as well, so we're looking at very, very strong winds here. Wait until you see the sustained winds and wind gusts associated with this, because there will be blizzard warnings issued. I guarantee it. From the National Weather Service in Wisconsin, they will be throwing out blizzard warnings as early as late tonight into the early morning hours of Sunday. And then this is going to get even more significant as we go into the day. This is for Sunday early morning, right around, say, 10 and 11 in the morning. We're looking at very heavy snowfall, strong winds here on the backside over Nebraska, over Iowa with a 986 millibar low. And then right in between, this is where we have a little bit of ice that is anticipated. To the south is where we're mainly looking at a lot of rainfall associated with this system, because that's the warm side. We have the cold side that's going to be in place. And this is just going to continue to be a big, big fat mess. Look at the snowfall over Iowa. We're looking at moderate to heavy snowfall over Wisconsin still, and look at heavy snowfall over northern Michigan, over Quebec and Ontario, Canada by tomorrow night into tomorrow evening. And then this is going to continue to gallop its way into the Great Lakes. All right, with that heavy snowfall that is anticipated. Man, what a dynamic system this actually is. And this continues to be an issue even into, say, early Monday morning with those strong winds and some snowfall that is left behind on the backside of the low pressure system. Now, let's talk about severe weather here, because the severe weather side of the storm is going to be extremely serious as well, because with very strong low-level winds that are going to be in place here. Lots of some modest instability, enough moisture out ahead of this cold front. That is why we are going to be seeing some severe weather. We're not looking at a prolific tornado outbreak here, but we are certainly looking at widespread damaging winds. And I would not be surprised if the Storm Prediction Center goes moderate for winds across parts of the upper Midwest and the Midwest in itself near the Ozarks because of what we're dealing with here. All right, so let's put this into motion here for the severe weather side of things, since we talked about how much where the snow is going to be the heaviest. Because look at this line here. See this squall line that's going to be in place all the way from, say, down here into northwestern Louisiana, into Arkansas, as well as into Memphis, Tennessee, along this line here into, say, Illinois, as well as moving into Indiana. This line will be a prolific wind producer here, and we're looking at maximum wind gusts along this front that could exceed 75 to near 85 miles an hour. We're looking at extreme wind damage here along this cold front as this surges its way eastward very quickly. You can see the isobars southerly flow out ahead of this, advecting that moisture northward, and that's why we're looking at a very serious situation here when it comes to this line of storms. And if we actually look at the low-level winds here really quickly, let's look at the 850 millibar winds out ahead of this line. Yeah, look at this. Look how intense these winds are. We're looking at 77 knots in the lower parts of the atmosphere here, especially over Indiana, over, say Kentucky. We're looking at 70 knot winds. That leads to sustained winds in miles per hour right around 80 to 85 miles an hour, and even getting up to 90 miles an hour in the lower parts of the atmosphere right out ahead of this line, even into Ohio. This is why I'm very concerned about damaging winds along this cold front, especially up here. We're also looking at wind gusts, or maximum wind gusts here, possibly up to 70 miles an hour over Alabama, over Tennessee, as this line continuously moves eastward with time. And that's why there's significant severe weather parameters. Also, we're looking at tornadoes as well because of speech here that is going to be involved here. If we actually click on a sounding right here, if we view sounding, we can see here there is definitely some low-level hodograph curvature here. We start seeing winds at about 18 knots at the surface here, and then they rapidly veer out up to from the southerly direction at around 65 to even 70 knots. So that is why we are looking at some embedded supercells, QLCS-like tornadoes within this line as well. So keep that in mind. Lots of deep layer vertical wind shear, even some small hail parameters as well that is anticipated. So that is something to consider as this line rolls on through. So now let's talk about how much snowfall you're actually going to see with this winter storm, because a lot of you are watching this video for the sole factor to look at how much snowfall. So Kankakee, where that big tornado happened just a few days ago, 1 inch of snow is expected there. South Bend, 4.5 inches of snow. Portage there in Michigan, 3.25 inches or so of snowfall. Not much snowfall down here in Muncie. Muncie, that is about 1/4 inch of snow. So nothing down there very much at all. Quincy as well as Davenport, 6.5 to even 7 inches of snowfall in Cedar Rapids. But this is where most of the snow is going to occur into the upstate portion of Michigan. Transverse City, 10 inches. Alpena, about 5 inches. Appleton's 18 inches. Green Bay Packers at 21 inches. And West Bend there at 8 inches. Milwaukee, 4 inches. And if you are in Kenosha, there 3 inches. Crystal Lake, 3 inches. Chicago, 2 inches of snow is expected. But boy, oh boy, oh boy, if you want to see snow, go on up to Marquette, Michigan, where you're going to be seeing 50 to 60 inches of snowfall. And some of the National Weather Service models are even hinting at snowfall amounts exceeding 60 inches. So we could be looking at up to even 4 to even 4.5 feet of snowfall in these areas. That's Houghton or Hugoton, something like that. 27 to 30 inches. Thunder Bay, 2 inches. If you are in Wausau, Wisconsin, 30 inches. If you're in Marinette, about 30 inches of snowfall there. So tons and tons of snowfall here, enough to literally lead to road closures, flight cancellations, road travel delays, and road closures. Certainly all a big possibility here. Eau Claire, possibly 2 feet of snowfall. La Crosse, right around a foot of snowfall if you're in Rochester there. Rochester, that is it, about a foot of snow. Minneapolis, right around 21 inches. Madison, 10 inches. If you're in, say, Stevens Point, 2 feet of snowfall. Man, lots of snow. Duluth there, around 9 to 12 inches of snowfall. St. Cloud, 19 inches in Minnesota. Fargo, 5 inches. If you're in Grand Forks, you're not going to get a whole lot out of this. Brookings, 4 inches of snow. Mankato there, about 7 inches. Looking at a lot of snowfall. Now, the biggest concern with this winter storm will also be the ice. We are looking at a crippling ice storm potentially over Wisconsin and over northern Michigan. This is really, really bad. This is not what you want to hear about. With a strong windstorm on top of heavy snowfall on top of ice, this is going to be a big problem. All right. So as we take a look here at the high-end forecast, when it comes to ice amounts, south of Rochester in Minnesota, we're looking at up to 0.3 of an inch. And then you go further east here, about 0.3 of an inch to 0.4 of an inch of ice. That is enough to bring down some power lines and utility lines as well. We're also looking at up to crippling amounts potentially over here over Transverse City, 0.75 of an inch. That meets the definition of a crippling ice storm. We're also looking at Gaylord, Michigan, could see up to 0.75 of an inch. Then if we zoom in here in some of these little towns here, this is Catalika, whatever it is in Michigan, 0.8 of an inch of ice, maybe up to an inch here. Potentially, we are going to see if that actually pans out. That is bad. That is really, really bad. We're looking at significant power outages here that could last up to a few days, if not longer, in these areas of Michigan. Further south, doesn't look like a whole lot of ice will accumulate, but this is going to be the area that we really need to be paying close attention to. Big time ice storm, lots of snowfall on top of strong winds. Yeah, guaranteed long duration power outages in these areas. So now let's talk about the 500 millibar jet stream forecast here, because this system is going to be very organized. The jet stream with this is going to be very, very dynamic indeed. Man, one of the best performing, well-dynamic winter storms that we have ever seen this year. Forget about the nor'easter that happened in the Northeast in late January. This thing is going to be even bigger than that. It's going to be a monster. It's going to be dynamic. And the reason why is, well, what's going on in the upper levels of the atmosphere. So let's put this into motion here into Sunday morning. Take note here. Well, this is positively tilted here. You have very strong diffluent flow aloft out ahead of this, ejecting into the high plains on Sunday morning. That allows for rapid pressure falls to take place on the northern side over Iowa. Okay, it's where we have a quick drop in central pressure very quickly. And then as we go into Sunday afternoon into the evening hours, look at this trough. My freaking goodness. This is very, very deep. You got your surface low, your upper level center low there. You got your trough trowel that's attached to it. Very strong northwesterly flow on the backside, bringing a lot of colder air from higher latitudes. We got lots of upper level dynamics and upper level ascent out ahead of that trough. That is why we are going to have a very dynamic system in itself. This is a storm system to not mess with at all. Look at the flow here in the mid levels of the atmosphere, over 130 to 150 knots. That is screaming. And then a second little perturbation within the flow ejects into the northeast here. This could be very interesting. Look at that jet streak right there. 140 to 150 knots, possibly getting even stronger than that over New York. Look at this. 155 knot mid-level jet streak at 18,000 feet above the surface. That is phenomenal. That is very significant because of how deep this trough is. So that is something to take into consideration here. Very, very, very deep trough, rapidly developing in the Midwest and the Northern Plains. That is why this storm system has a lot of power behind it. That's why this winter storm is going to be extremely dangerous because of the upper level dynamics that are getting involved. So what that's going to allow this to do is it's going to allow this surface low to rapidly develop in earnest here, especially overnight tonight. You can see if we go back in time, pressure here, 996 56 millibars at the surface across eastern portion there of Wyoming. But as this upper level jet stream moves over the system, the surface low is going to deepen very quickly. We go from 991 down to 989, 987, and then it continues to drop here. Look at 984, and then possibly gets down even lower than that, possibly into the sub 970 millibar range as we go into early or into Monday or Sunday night into early Monday morning here. And look at these winds here on the back side here of the system. Look at this pressure gradient, 1040 to 985 millibars. Yeah, look at these winds at the surface between 35 to 45 knots perhaps. That is about 40 to 50 mile an hour sustained winds perhaps, possibly locally stronger in some areas, possibly exceeding 55 miles an hour with wind gusts well in excess of 60 to even 80 miles an hour across the high plains. That is going to knock down a lot of trees and power lines. We're going to see a lot of damage over the high plains. Even if there's not a whole lot of snow, especially over Kansas, the wind is going to be extremely significant here. Out ahead of this surface low, we're also looking at strong winds too over Indiana. And that's going to lead again to this line of storms that will be moving into that environment, producing a lot of severe weather. Now, when we look at the wind gust forecast really quickly here, you'll see with what I mean. So if we go back in time here, you can see in about 24 hours, look at these wind gusts here. By Sunday early morning, wind gusts between 50 to 60 miles an hour here over the high plains. The HRRR may not be resolving this entirely well with wind gusts, but I think they're going to be stronger than 56 miles an hour, given that there are high wind warnings out for that area. So more likely wind gusts will be in excess of 60 to even 70 miles an hour in that area. Now, an area of concern is also in Iowa, where the backside of this low is going to bring in some damaging wind gusts. Look at this yellow golden color here, wind gusts between 65 to even 70 miles an hour. That will bring down a lot of trees and power lines over the region. And lead to widespread power outages. And then even the backside here rolling on through with wind gusts between 50 to even 60 miles an hour over Indiana, over the Ohio Valley, Michigan, as well as Wisconsin. So very, very windy storm, a very dangerous storm in itself. Now, because of what we just talked about on the severe weather side of things, looking at the vertical wind shear and the profiles, the Storm Prediction Center has issued an enhanced risk of severe weather yet again. This is not the first time they have done this year. This is like the third or fourth or even fifth. Yeah, like the third or fourth time they've issued an enhanced risk. So that's this area, level 3 out of 5 on the severity weather index scale. This includes for northern Louisiana into Mississippi, into Arkansas, as well as the Ozark region of Tennessee, into Kentucky, as well as Indiana, under that enhanced risk for severe weather. It is mainly driven by wind, but also by a risk of strong tornadoes. We're looking at EF2 plus tornado potential here in the 5% and even in the 2%. So even areas like Detroit have a risk of getting a strong tornado out of this. That's EF2 plus in the SIG 1 category. That's this level 1 hatched area, pretty much covering just about the 2% and 5% area. When we look at the damaging wind threat, there is a SIG 2 out. So there's a 45 SIG 2 out for the Memphis, Tennessee area, for Kentucky, for southern Indiana, for southern portion there of Illinois, as well as the boot heel of Missouri. Yeah. This is a concern here. We are looking at widespread wind gusts, potentially over 75 to even 80 miles an hour. We'll see if they upgrade this even a little more. If they do, it will be going moderate. I think if they go SIG 2, I will have to look at their conversion chart after this video. But I think if they go SIG 2 in the 45, that would be a moderate risk-driven damaging wind threat here over parts of the Ozarks. So something really to consider here going forward if they do go moderate in future outlooks of this severe weather event. Also, the good news, though, not a big hail producer storm, but there is a 5% risk for some quarter-size hail over parts of the Ozarks, as well as parts of the upper Midwest here of Illinois and parts of Iowa. Now, there's also a day 3 enhanced risk for severe weather, and this will likely be driven by tornadoes and also damaging winds, similar to our day 2 outlook here. You can see over the Carolinas, over Virginia. Yes, my sister is in the enhanced risk of severe weather. So, Megan, there's a chance you could see strong tornadoes with this, along to go with damaging 80-mile-an-hour winds associated with this storm system. In fact, could see isolated wind gusts over 85 miles an hour if things pan out the way they do with that jet streak. So here is a look at that. There's a 30% SIG 1 probability out for severe weather in that area. So significant severe weather is looking likely all the way in across the mid-Atlantic coast of the eastern seaboard of the United States. For day 3, this would be for Monday morning through Tuesday morning. So get your bearings straight here. This outlook here is for Sunday morning into Monday morning. This outlook here is for Monday morning into Tuesday morning, if that makes sense. But anyways, if you haven't been here before and you did find this video very helpful, detailed, informative, life-saving, and very educational here, please don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel, folks. It really, really means a lot. Please get this out to a lot of people, folks, because we need to get this out to a lot across the Great Lakes, the Northern Plains, and across much of the eastern half of the country, because this winter storm is going to be extremely dangerous. So please, for the love of God, please share this with your family and friends on social media. Please hit the bell icon if you do subscribe to the channel and hit that like button. And I'll be sure to keep you all updated here as often as I can possible. Maybe tonight I might go live. It depends on how I feel. Feeling pretty good today. So if I do feel really well tonight, I might go live for a little bit to discuss about this winter storm and what you need to know about it. But that will largely depend on how I feel. But otherwise, thank you all for watching out. I'll be back with you more tomorrow.